combined approach is seen as the way forward for Newcastle, capitalising on the region's tourism and business potential.
We need to work together as a region, and that means all the local government areas working together, as they've done in the past 12 months, all levels of government working together and all the government agencies working together.
He's optimistic about the city's future, and while the region's problems aren't likely to disappear in 2001, it's hoped working together and celebrating the diversity of the population will create greater understanding of them.
My passion for this coming year is in fact that we will not allow those gaps to appear, that we will bridge them as much as we can, and that we will work passionately for the poor and for the needy and for the disabled and all those people.
But New Year's is often a time for reflection and planning on an individual level, and as the summer of sport continues, the region's stars are striving for success, and not just on their chosen field.
Probably to shoot a little bit over par on the golf course, mate. I struggle, so I wouldn't mind getting down around the par a bit, I think.
Brooke Webster, NBN News.
The sun-drenched fairways must seem a world away for these Korean juniors, but on just their second day at the Muswellbrook course, some looked right at home.
The average handicap is one between the 5. They are pretty good, like the semi-professional.
It's the weather that attracts the group to Australia, with Korea largely under snow at the moment. In the past, they've stuck to Sydney, but have set up base at Muswellbrook for the first time. And while some of the course locals mark their home ground, the club has welcomed its international guests with open arms.
It's exceptional really for the club of this size and located in this area. For them to select us and come over, it was really a good coup for the club.
Considering the Hunter has plenty of popular resort-style courses, it's a huge rap for the club, which is rated one of the best bush courses in the state, and perhaps the new home for this elite golfing school's tours.
We hope so, because this could be the start of something good for the club. It's good for the area and certainly good for the district.
The group will tour around to other valley courses during their stay in what will be an intense 2 months.
Some days we like to do the 36 hole and plus gym practice.
It certainly isn't doing their game any harm, with most expected to make the grade as a professional in years to come.
Decades of industrial pollution spewing into Lake Macquarie has prompted health authorities to issue a reminder about limiting fish consumption.
Average adult weighing about 70 kilograms can eat about 6 fish meals per week without any problem. A child weighing about 35 kilograms could eat about half as much as that.
Discharge from Pasminco's Cockle Creek smelter, nearby power stations and coal mines is blamed for the build-up of the heavy metal.
I guess it's one of those ongoing problems. The problem has been coming down over the last so many years, but I guess it's probably a warning to us to not believe we've solved the problem. It's going to be a long problem to fix the lake. It's being done, but it's one of those things that are going to have to happen for some years.
While selenium levels are slowly decreasing in the waterway, Lake Macquarie Mayor John Kilpatrick is calling for action in solving the problem.
We always seem to be doing studies. There's another study being done now as to what might happen and might not happen. I think it's time probably we started to look at whether we're able to get some results.
Tanya Carlisle, NBN News. "41-year-old Bill Deal was diagnosed with Parkinson's disease in 1993.
And I went to numerous doctors and they couldn't find a great deal. I had CAT scans and Finally, I went to the neurologist at the John Hunter, and he diagnosed me with having Parkinson's disease, which was a little bit of a relief because first of all I thought it was a brain tumour.
Celebrity sufferers like Muhammad Ali have brought the illness to the public eye, but largely not much is known about Parkinson's.
I thought it was an old person's disease at first, and I now know that it's not an old person's disease, that can affect anyone in the community, and they're a lot younger than myself with the disease.
Now, in a bid to have a specialist nurse located in Newcastle, Bill and his friend Anne, who is also a sufferer, are busy fundraising.
Initially she'll be on a part-time basis, and she will be in the field, so she will go out to the sufferers and their carers. And one of the main aims will be to assist them in their medication and generally improve their quality of life.
A fundraising sports dinner and memorabilia auction will be held on the 27th of January at West's and will feature sporting legends Max Walker and Blocker Roach. Tanya Carlisle, NBN News.
At training, he looks the picture of health, but Andy Harper's injury has kept him out of play in first grade all season. However, he was named again today in the squad to play against Marconi this Saturday, but may only make the bench.
On the pace of the youth game and what he's done at training, he's probably 3/4 of the way there.
Although coach Lee Sterry is happy with the performance and training of his other forwards, he believes that the team will do better with Harper back on deck.
We've played 11 games and we've got results out of 6 of them, but we've had 5 draws and 1 win, really, when it comes down to it.
Meanwhile, in rugby league, 10 days off over the Christmas break hasn't done the Newcastle Knights any harm. Some basic drills today showed most to be in good health.
Bit of rust to get out of the system, and they've had probably 10 days to relax and enjoy themselves, but today was not a bad session, but we're looking to probably build up in the next few weeks to our first trial on the 27th.
There are a few, however, who need more time before making it back to training. In particular, Andrew Johns and Ben Kennedy. Kennedy could be up for shoulder surgery later this week.
Hopefully Andrew and Dukes and Benny Kennedy might be available for the second trial, but we'd like to settle on a few things between now and then.
Coach Michael Hagan is confident that there's plenty of time between now and season kickoff for old wounds to heal and the team to be at full strength. Adam Harper, NBN News.
For 30 Broke vignerons, it will mean secure access to the precious commodity of water. They're among 240 farmers covering an area stretching to Fordwich and Bulga, which will be connected to 82 kilometres of water pipeline being laid. Water due to start flowing in 20 weeks' time.
It comes out of the Hunter River just before Singleton, on the western side of Singleton. But the water actually is released from the dams further up in the Barrington Tops, which is the Glenbourne Dam and Glennies Creek Dam.
The $6 million pipeline is privately funded, but Agriculture Minister Warren Truss is helping out. Today he handed over a cheque for $550,000, but the money is from the Dairy Farmers Regional Assistance Package. The minister under fire due to claims only one dairy farm will be connected.
Well, the federal government's providing $1.7 billion by way of structural assistance to the dairy industry following deregulation. Over $1.6 billion of that goes in payments direct to dairy farmers.
The minister claims the pipeline will help the Upper Hunters economy, which was weakened by deregulation. Vanessa Trezise, NBN News. The research is based on data gathered from dairy farmers in the Hunter Valley. The study formalised what most farmers already know, that heat stress reduces milk production and therefore industry profits.
Rule of thumb that we were working with was a loss of about $60 per cow per year, which for a herd of 100 cattle would be roughly a loss of $6,000.
Singleton farmer Arthur Byrne is among a growing number who've already taken steps to ensure that their cows remain cool despite the heat. Using sprinklers, his herd of 150 cows enjoy a refreshing shower while they wait to be milked on hot days.
Cows are more comfortable. I guess it's the story. You get good milk from contented cows. If they're in here contented, yeah, I think it helps.
In fact, scientists discovered that cows afforded the luxury of sprinklers or shade sheds can produce as much as 220 litres of extra milk a year. They conclude that farmers should start upgrading now as the mercury is tipped to continue rising due to global warming. The study's findings come at a time when the state's dairy industry is still struggling to come to terms with deregulation, which forced the farm gate supply milk prices down to 28 cents. Which means any method to avoid hot cows may be worth the effort. Farmers at least keeping a sense of humour about it. Vanessa Trezise, NBN News.
It was an all-star lineup in the 500cc International Solo Masters event with 2 world champions and an Australian champion on the track. But it was Newcastle's Todd Wilshere that thrilled the crowd.
Here comes Todd Wilshere right through the middle!
Wilshere went on to finish second behind Australian champ Lee Adams. Mick Poole from the Central Coast was third. In the lead-up races, Ty Platt decided to have a lie down and Dave Booth had his back against the wall. In the sidecars, lady racer Alana Harrington came unstuck early. Despite the spin, Harrington went on to win the race. In the Formula 500s, the world went upside down for Tamworth's Hugh Austin, who at least managed to land the right way up. It also pays to watch where you're going. And in the Demolition Derby, Graham Passfield spent the night practising reverse parking in his Holden panel van. The Ross brothers had to share the winner's purse when their cars were so badly smashed together they couldn't be separated. Paul Lobb, NBN News.
Workplace injuries are expensive, costing the employer higher insurance premiums and lost productivity, not to mention the pain and discomfort experienced by the hurt worker. Pacific Linen, an arm of Hunter Area Health, is taking a proactive approach in cutting down workplace injuries. And so far the results are astonishing, a reduction from 25 to 30 injuries a year to none.
We had a very bad safety record. We've turned that around. We went over 12 months without a lost time injury, and in the last 18 months we've only had 2 lost time injuries, which is terrific.
As well as automating a lot of the equipment and improving signage and the surroundings, staff take part in hourly stretching exercises. Employees also have a small gym which they can use. The program, which has been largely driven by the staff themselves, has been well received by the 150 staff members.
I think the stretch and exercises every hour do help, because your aching muscles, as you're stretching and pulling them, you can really feel where they're aching, and yeah, it's great. So it's been a hell of an improvement.
Tanya Carlisle, NBN News.
The first flight this Impulse jet has had to make is the trip from the Californian Boeing manufacturers to Australia. And when the two remaining jets have followed suit, Impulse will boast a fleet of 8 717s. It could see Newcastle reap the benefits.
Our Newcastle engineering facility, which is the heart of our regional facility, will be undertaking ongoing maintenance work on a regular basis with at least one Boeing 717 per evening.
That would mean an increase in the number of engineering staff, and Newcastle should become the 717 engineering headquarters for the fleet. Not only that, Impulse may even add Newcastle to its flight destinations for the jets, becoming a regular port of call.
There's a distinct possibility that down the track the 717 will operate on a regular basis out of Newcastle Airport.
The other two jets are due to arrive in Australia for safety inspections later this month, and all three should be flying East Coast routes by the end of February. As for the new look, there are plans for most of the existing regional aircraft and all the new jets to boast the Australian image.
The Cockatoo is a cheeky and witty creature, and market research has shown that people see us as a cheeky and witty company, being prepared to be a bit different.
Adam Harper, NBN News.
It's a crime that not only costs the Education Department hundreds of thousands of dollars every year, but causes heartache for students and teachers alike. In the past 2 years, 104 computers have been stolen or damaged beyond repair from primary and high schools in the Newcastle and Lake Macquarie region.
It certainly would appear that there were in the past gangs of people who were taking them from schools and were aware that these new computers were being rolled out in schools.
Police have had several recent breakthroughs where 2 gangs have been shut down and stolen goods recovered. The Education Department is now turning its attention to upgrading security. It's spending $1.2 million at schools in the Hunter and Western Sydney.
Everything possible will be done to avoid interference with students' education.
Money will be spent on upgrading measures such as window bars and locks, computer lockdown devices and tracking units. The Education Department is not yet naming which Hunter schools will have the security devices installed, for fear it will be an open invitation to thieves to act before the upgrades take place. Police will also increase their surveillance of some schools. Vanessa Trezise, NBN News.
Where there was smoke, there was certainly fire.
Oh, we saw the smoke from down at my friend's place. We thought they might have been doing back burning, so we walked up there. It was a little bit bigger than what we thought. So we grabbed a mobile and just called 000.
And when the wind changed direction, the flames were suddenly too close for comfort.
There was a bit of smoke, and then the next minute, we were all running around trying to get the fire brigade, and the services arrived and it just took off. Just shows how quickly it can happen.
Residents weren't taking any chances, hosing down rooftops and clearing gutters in preparation for the worst.
Well, it's quite horrifying when it's right just across the road.
But firefighters kept the blaze at a distance, tackling the 500-metre front before it could threaten homes.
We were prepared to meet the fire at the front where it come to the houses, but fortunately we got to it before it got here.
Meanwhile, fire also tore through bushland at Tingara Heights. 2 separate outbreaks covering a total of about 6 hectares broke out late this afternoon, but were brought under control by firefighters. No property was in danger. About half a dozen blazes are still being monitored by crews this evening. Brooke Webster, NBN News.
Like anything, preparation is the key, and the Australian Blind Cricket Council is taking every step to ensure it's ready for the 2002 World Cup in New Zealand. The initial Australian squad began the first of 3 camps today at Myuna Bay, with a series of one-day games. Under international rules, teams are made up of players with various levels of partial sight and some completely blind. The squad's goals, though, are clear-cut: to win the World Cup after it ended beaten semi-finalists at the inaugural championship in India 3 years ago.
A real motivation. I think we're all very disappointed. We all look back at it thinking that we weren't far away from winning, and we could have won it. So, we're really keen to get there again.
The Aussie skipper is impressed with the rapid increase in Australia's depth since the last campaign, and few could go past Nick Haydar today. This shot brought up the Australian vice-captain's 50. A 17-man World Cup side will be selected after the national titles at the end of the year.
In late November, Hank Svidovic put a few dollars in the pokies, hit the button and died. But when Hank's heart stopped, he hit the jackpot. Nearby in Newcastle's Western Suburbs Leagues Club was Bryce Rossington, who was well trained in CPR. Today the two met again as ambulance officers celebrated Hank's return to life. Amongst those on hand for the presentation of a Heart Start pin, Mr Svidovic's own ambulance service. 2 sons and a daughter are officers in the Newcastle district.
I am very grateful for all those involved.
Aided in the life-saving CPR by an off-duty ambulance officer from Mudgee, Bryce Rossington realises the importance of knowing what to do.
I'd like to see a lot more people learn CPR so that in a case like that people will respond rather than walk around the situation.
On the scene in 5 minutes with a life-saving defibrillator, paramedics had to shock their patient 8 times before his heart began to beat again.
We're starting to get very concerned that we're running out of options, but somewhere down about 2/3 of the way through the protocol, he responded quite well and we had a very good outcome.
And for ambulance officers, no better outcome than to be able to pin a little red heart on a patient. Jim Sullivan, NBN News.
Coach Lee Sterry has been waiting all season to reunite Andy Harper and John Bonavolia. With the veteran striker set to make his season return to the top grade, that idea has suffered a blow, with Bonavolia flawed with a viral infection. Although Sterry is hopeful Bonavolia will be fit to play Marconi tomorrow night, he has delayed the naming of his starting side until shortly before kick-off. But Asala Massey is expected to start with Harper on the bench.
At the moment they're probably both only about 80% fit, but I know they both will give their guts for Newcastle.
Out since the pre-season with a broken toe, the 300-odd game veteran of the NSL came back through the Youth League last weekend.
To be honest, I was a little nervous about going into the game, and to last the 90 minutes was really encouraging, but first grade, of course, is another step up altogether.
Brad Widgerek, though, will be watching from the sideline for anything for up to 2 months, with surgery believed to be the only remedy for his chronic shin problem.
It just keeps coming back, and like you saw the other week how I got run down and I cramp up all the time, so really, I mean, I'd like to think that Dave could fix it, but at the end of the day, it's just one of those things where surgery is the only thing that can fix it.
He'll meet with his specialist in Sydney next Tuesday.
Scratchley's on the Wharf in Newcastle has had a smoke-free policy for 8 years.
I didn't think diners wanted to have smoke around them, and I didn't want to be breathing the stuff myself.
But it was only last September that it became illegal to light up in cafes and restaurants across the state. Since then, smokers have been forced outside to enjoy their habit, and it seems to have had a negligible effect on business.
Most of them just, simply go outside and finish their cigarette out there.
Mind you, there are still plenty of people who are unaware the ban is even in place.
And they go, oh, don't you have a smoking section? And I'll say, no, it's actually law, you just cannot smoke. So no, they don't know. The latest episode was 2 weeks ago.
Maria says the new smoking law has made her job a lot easier.
I actually have been sort of confronted a few times with people who were very upset about other people smoking next to them.
But the hard part for the hospitality industry is yet to come. By next September, pubs and hotel owners will have the challenging task of designating specific smoking and non-smoking areas.
Not many people are really keen to breathe in other people's smoke, but I mean it's part of the job, but in a year's time it won't be, and that's really good.
Catherine Turner, NBN News.
For 6-week-old Lucy, this is home. Kaluas couple Tony and Sue Baldwin took Lucy in just after she was born. A damaged hoof almost costing her life.
I didn't want her to die, so we just brought her home and I tried to rear her.
And rear her she did. Lucy now thinks she's one of the family. She has taken pride of place at the front of the house.
She doesn't know she's a pig. As far as we're concerned, we brought her home, she was just 2 days old, and she doesn't really know what she is.
Snip the dog has welcomed her newfound friend, showing her the ropes of the Baldwin household. And at 8 kilograms, Lucy is certainly lapping up the luxuries of life. A staple diet of Weet-Bix, bread and milk, ensuring a healthy weight gain of around 1 kilogram per week. Her owners say she's not a sweet tooth, but there is one exception: vanilla ice cream. With a full belly and a tummy rub from Dad, it's now time for a little nap. And what does the future hold for this little piggy?
I've got a good mate in Bingra, Barry Crawford, he wants to eat her. But I don't think we're going to be very successful there.
She'll slowly be introduced back to the real life of a pig at a property in Kaluas. Colleen West, NBN News.
The 3-year project at Newcastle's John Hunter Hospital involved 95 families, each with at least one member having Lynch syndrome. Sufferers were already known to have a predisposition to bowel cancer, but certain participants were also linked to prostate and, more noticeably, breast cancer.
These risks were very high. They're about 14 times that you'd normally expect compared to the general population.
For those with the syndrome, it's a case of prevention rather than cure. Researchers suggest those people with a family history of cancer at a young age should seek medical advice.
The best thing that patients can have is knowledge about their disease risk. If they have that, they can enter into screening programs. If early stage disease is identified, it can be removed immediately.
Meanwhile, Hunter Health has won a $1 million grant to look at ways to improve the quality of care given to emergency department patients suffering from stroke or chest pain. It'll put into practice new therapies previously only on paper.
We hope that we can streamline the care delivery to some extent by putting into place protocols and pathways.
The study will be conducted in the Nepean, Townsville, Frankston and John Hunter hospitals. Held in Newcastle for the first time in its 4-year history, the Engineering Summer School has attracted 20 students from all points of Australia. The week-long program aims to get them interested in all applications of the field, whether they be medical, transport or mining, and encourage them to take it up at a tertiary level.
It's a very, very big field for them to get into, and we've got to bolster our representation in that area.
And the students didn't seem to mind sacrificing some of their summer break.
It's pretty interesting. I like the background and everything from the university.
It's really good to know how the university works and all the lectures and stuff that goes on, so that when we go to uni or whatever, it's an easier transition.
Meanwhile, Newcastle University has also stepped up its campaign to attract mature age students. It's set up a stand at Charlestown Square to tell people about its Open Foundation program. Colin Baldwin, NBN News.
Glenn Moore and Greg Owens both began their NSL careers in Newcastle, but this year they've been carving out names for themselves in a Sydney Olympic shirt. This weekend they return to face their old teammates.
We're really looking forward to the game.
McManus and Moore were a part of a great defensive partnership, and now the United stopper will be out to put a halt to Owens, who's now a striker.
He's probably one of the best local guys that we've had, and deservedly so. He got in the Australian under-20 squad, so he's been playing well and scoring goals, so it'll be a tough match-up against him.
But McManus is more concerned with his own side, which is the only team in the NSL not to have won away from home this season, with another draw at the weekend against Marconi. One of the highlights, though, striker John Bonavolia's first goal from broken play this season.
He hasn't had that many chances, and this one fell to his feet, and hopefully with Harps back in the squad he might get a few more of those opportunities.
Coach Lee Sterry will announce the side to play Olympic on Wednesday.
We've now formed an operation within the Newcastle Local Area Command to investigate those two offences and also a possible link with a number of other similar offences which have occurred in the Newcastle Local Area Command.
In just 2 hours, arsonists destroyed what had taken members 37 years to build up. The Heaton Birmingham Gardens Bowling Club had been a second home to hundreds of retirees.
Very traumatic on the night.
especially at 3:30 in the morning and standing in the middle of the green, and it actually was my birthday and watching the club go up one big candle.
Members are soldiering on, still playing on their green that was saved in the shadow of their former clubhouse. Wallsend detectives have launched a special investigation to track down those responsible.
We're interested to hear from anybody that might have seen anything from the vicinity on the 30th of December about 3 o'clock near the bowling club at Heaton. And we're also interested to hear from anybody that might have heard anything.
It's been just over a year since arsonists destroyed part of the Heaton Primary School, only 1 kilometre away from the bowling club, but police have ruled out any links. Meantime, demolishers have moved in to start taking apart the gutted remains of the bowling club piece by piece. The slow process is expected to be finished in 2 weeks. Bowling club management hopes to have council approval to rebuild by June. Vanessa Trezise, NBN News.